Jake Martinez wiped the sweat from his forehead as he finished repairing the plasma conduit in the engine room. The alien ship hummed around him, its biometal walls pulsing with a faint green light. He had been working on the catamaran for 2 years now, and he still found the living ship design amazing. The Zilani built their vessels from grown materials that could heal themselves and adapt to different situations. "Jake, are you done with that conduit?" Lisa Campbell's voice came through his comm device. She was the ship's human medical officer, and one of his closest friends aboard the vessel. "Just finished," Jake replied, gathering his tools. The power flow should be back to normal now. He made his way through the curved corridors to the medical bay, where Lisa was organizing supplies. She looked up and smiled when he entered. Lisa had joined the crew 6 months after Jake, and her skill with both human and alien medicine had made her valuable to Captain Vex Thera. "Any word from Alex about that distress signal?" Jake asked. Lisa shook her head. "He's still trying to clean up the transmission. Whatever ship sent it, they're in bad shape." Alex Thompson was their communications officer, another human who had found work with the Zilani crew. The three of them, along with Pete Johnson from maintenance and Amy Foster from navigation, made up the human contingent on the mixed-species merchant ship. Captain Vexithara's voice echoed through the ship's communication system. Her reptilian accent made the words sound sharp and hissing. "All crew to stations. We are changing course to investigate a distress beacon." Jake exchanged glances with Lisa. Distress calls in deep space were always risky. They could be genuine emergencies, pirate traps, or worse. But Captain Vexithara had always been fair to her human crew members, treating them with the same respect she showed her Zilani and other alien crew members. The next few hours passed quietly as the catamaran traveled toward the source of the distress signal. Jake returned to his duties in engineering, monitoring the ship's systems as they approached their destination. The bioship sensors were among the best in the galaxy, but even they couldn't penetrate the strange energy field surrounding the derelict station they found. "It's definitely abandoned," Alex reported over the comm. "No life signs, no power readings. But there's something strange about the energy signature." Captain Vexithara made the decision to dock with the station and investigate. Jake joined the away team along with Lisa, 2 Zilani crew members, and a hulking Corvan warrior named Thex. They entered the station through an airlock that had seen better days. The inside of the station was dark and cold. Their lights revealed corridors filled with debris and damaged equipment. Jake examined some of the technology and frowned. It didn't match any known design he had studied. "This equipment is weird," he said to Lisa as they moved deeper into the station. "It's like someone tried to copy alien tech but didn't understand how it really worked." They found the station's central computer core, but it had been completely destroyed. Whatever had happened here, someone had made sure no information would survive. Jake was examining the wreckage when Thex suddenly raised his weapon. "We are not alone," the Corvan growled. The attack came from everywhere at once. Armed figures in black armor emerged from hidden passages surrounding the away team. Jake recognized the armor design immediately: Vorthak Empire soldiers. The Vorthak were known throughout the galaxy as ruthless raiders who took what they wanted and enslaved whoever they found. The firefight was brief and hopeless. The Zilani crew members fought bravely, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. Jake tried to shield Lisa as energy bolts flew around them, but there were too many Vorthak soldiers. Within minutes, the away team was captured and dragged back to their ship. Jake's heart sank when he saw the catamaran surrounded by 3 Vorthak vessels. Their ship's weapons were no match for a full raiding fleet. On the bridge, Captain Vexthara stood before a massive Vorthak commander. The alien wore ornate armor decorated with the bones of his enemies, and his yellow eyes gleamed with cruel intelligence. "I am Overlord Grixcon," the Vorthak leader announced. "Your ship and cargo now belong to the Empire. Your crew will be processed for slavery." Jake watched in growing horror as Captain Vexithera considered the demand. He had always respected the Zilani captain, believing she cared for all her crew members equally. But now he saw something cold and calculating in her reptilian eyes. "Perhaps we can reach an agreement," Vexthara said carefully. "My ship carries valuable cargo, but I also have crew members who might interest you more than simple slavery." Grixcon tilted his head. "Curious? The humans," Vexthara continued, gesturing toward Jake and his friends. "They are primitives from a backward world. Their species is weak and worthless, but they make obedient workers. Take them as a gift of goodwill, and allow my ship and the rest of my crew to depart in peace." Jake felt like he had been punched in the stomach. Lisa gasped beside him, and he could see the shock and betrayal on the faces of Pete and Amy. Alex stood frozen, unable to believe what he was hearing. "An interesting proposal," Grixcon mused, studying the 5 humans. "Yes, primitives often make the best slaves. They lack the spirit to resist properly." "Captain," Jake said, his voice hoarse with disbelief, "we've served you faithfully for years. We've saved this ship more times than I can count." Vexithara wouldn't meet his eyes. "Business is business, Jake. The Vorthak respect strength, and humans are simply not strong enough to matter in this galaxy. Better that you serve some useful purpose." The betrayal cut deeper than any weapon could have. Jake realized that despite all their hard work, all their loyalty, all their contributions to the ship and crew, the captain had never seen them as anything more than expendable resources. Grixcon laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "Excellent. The humans will come with us. The rest of your crew and cargo may go free, but remember this debt, Zilani. The Empire has shown you mercy today." Jake and his 4 friends were shackled and dragged toward the Vorthak ships. As they were forced through the airlock, Jake looked back one last time at the Keth Moran. Captain Vexthara stood on the bridge, already giving orders to prepare for departure. She never looked in their direction. Pete Johnson, the quiet maintenance worker, spoke for all of them. I guess we never really mattered to them at all. As the airlock sealed behind them, Jake felt a cold anger building in his chest. They had been abandoned and betrayed, handed over like cargo to one of the most brutal species in the known galaxy. But Jake Martinez was an engineer, and engineers solved problems. Somehow he would find a way to survive this. They all would. The Vorthak ship's engines roared to life, carrying them away from everything they had known toward an uncertain and dangerous future. The detention cell was barely large enough for the 5 humans to lie down at the same time. Jake sat with his back against the cold metal wall, watching Lisa tend to a cut on Pete's forehead. The Vorthak guards had not been gentle when they threw the humans into their new home. 3 weeks had passed since their capture, and Jake had learned to hate the sound of Vorthak footsteps in the corridor outside their cell. The heavy boots always meant someone was coming to drag them out for work detail or simply to beat them for entertainment. "How's your arm feeling, Amy?" Lisa asked the navigator, who had injured her shoulder during a particularly brutal work shift in the ship's cargo bay. "Better," Amy replied, though Jake could see she was still in pain. "Thanks to your medical magic." Lisa had somehow managed to convince one of the guards to bring her basic medical supplies. She claimed it was because injured slaves were worthless slaves, but Jake suspected the guard had simply been impressed by her skill in treating injured prisoners from other species. "Jake, tell me again about the power coupling you saw yesterday," Alex said quietly. Jake understood. They had developed a system of sharing information about the ship's layout, systems, and weaknesses. It helped keep their minds sharp and gave them something to focus on besides their situation. "The main power runs through 3 primary conduits," Jake whispered. "But there's a secondary system that most species don't understand. It's based on quantum field manipulation, similar to what we use in human ships but more primitive." Pete leaned forward. "You think you could disable it?" "Maybe," Jake said. "But we'd need tools, access to the engineering sections, and a way to deal with about 200 Vorthak warriors." The conversation stopped when they heard footsteps approaching. The cell door opened with a harsh grinding sound, and 2 Vorthak guards entered. Jake recognized them, Sergeant Vexmore and his partner Grixtel. They were among the more brutal guards who seemed to enjoy making the prisoners suffer. "Humans," Vexmore snarled in broken galactic standard. "Work time. Move now or feel pain." The 5 friends stood slowly and filed out of the cell. They had learned not to move too quickly or too slowly. Either could result in a beating. The guards led them through the ship's corridors toward the engine room. Jake had been studying the Dominator's Fang during these forced work details. The ship was impressive by alien standards, built for war and intimidation. Its weapons could destroy most civilian vessels, and its armor could withstand significant punishment. The Vorthak were proud of their military technology, often boasting about their conquests to the prisoners. In the engine room, they were assigned to clean coolant filters, a job that exposed them to toxic fumes and radiation. Jake worked methodically, but part of his mind was always analyzing the systems around him. The Vorthak technology was advanced but not as sophisticated as what he had seen on some human military vessels during his engineering training. During their lunch break, they were fed the usual gray paste that served as prisoner rations. Jake sat with 3 other prisoners from different species, a blue-skinned Andorian merchant, an insectoid klaxon worker, and a crystalline being whose species name he couldn't pronounce. The Vorthak grow stronger every day, the Andorian said sadly. My homeworld sent diplomatic messages asking for my release. The Empire responded by demanding tribute payments. They raided 3 more systems last week, the klaxon added, its translator making its clicking language understandable. No one stops them. No one strong enough? Jake listened to these conversations carefully. He was building a picture of the galactic political situation, and it wasn't encouraging. The Vorthak Empire was expanding rapidly, and no one seemed capable of standing up to them. Most alien governments were either too weak to resist or too far away to care. What about the major powers? Jake asked. The Zilani Consortium, the Corvan Republic, the Stellar Federation. The crystalline being's form flickered, which Jake had learned meant it was laughing. They all talk, make meetings, write protests. But none fight. Vorthak too strong now. That afternoon, the humans were assigned to work in the weapons maintenance section. Jake pretended to struggle with the alien technology, while actually memorizing every detail he could. The Vorthak energy cannons were powerful, but used an inefficient focusing system that wasted almost 30% of their power output. These weapons are impressive, he said loudly, making sure the Vorthak supervisor could hear him. No wonder the Empire is so successful. The supervisor, a scarred veteran named Commander Thraktos, puffed up with pride. Vorthak weapons best in galaxy. We crush all enemies, take all worlds. Have you fought many space battles? Jake asked, playing the role of an impressed primitive. Thraktos launched into a detailed account of the Empire's recent military victories. Jake listened carefully, noting tactical information, fleet sizes, and the types of opposition the Vorthak had faced. Most of their enemies had been poorly armed civilian vessels or small planetary defense forces. That evening, back in their cell, Jake shared what he had learned with his friends. They're winning because they're fighting weak opponents, he said quietly. Their technology is good but not amazing. Their tactics are straightforward, show up with overwhelming force and demand surrender. But it works, Amy pointed out. No one can match their fleet size. No one has tried, Jake corrected. There's a difference. Lisa looked at him thoughtfully. You're thinking about something specific. Jake nodded slowly. Human military doctrine. Remember what they taught us in basic training? Never reveal your full capabilities until you absolutely have to. Alex caught on first. You think the human defense forces know about what's happening out here? I think the human defense forces know about everything that happens in this part of the galaxy, Jake said. The question is whether they care enough to do something about it. Pete looked skeptical. Even if they do care, what could they do? Humans aren't exactly known for their military might. Most alien species think we're barely capable of space travel. Most alien species have never seen what human military engineers can do when they're properly motivated, Jake replied. Remember the theoretical weapon systems they showed us during training? The ones they said were conceptual studies. The conversation was interrupted by the sound of alarms throughout the ship. The humans pressed against their cell door, trying to hear what was happening. Vorthak voices echoed through the corridors, but they couldn't understand the rapid-fire military language. After an hour, the alarms stopped and the ship returned to normal operations. But Jake noticed something different in the guards' behavior over the next few days. They seemed nervous, constantly checking their weapons and communicating with their superiors. Something's got them spooked, Lisa observed during another work detail. Jake had noticed it too. The Vorthak were acting like a military force that expected trouble. But from what? As far as he knew, no major power in the galaxy had the strength to threaten a full Vorthak battle fleet. On their 20th day of captivity, Overlord Grixicon himself visited the detention level. He stopped in front of their cell and studied the 5 humans with his cold yellow eyes. Soon you will see the slave markets of Nexus Station, he told them. There you will be sold to new masters. Serve them well, and perhaps you will live long enough to see your worthless homeworld again. After the Overlord left, Jake sat in the corner of the cell, thinking. Something was coming. He could feel it in the way the ship operated, in the behavior of the crew, in the tension that filled the air. The Vorthak were preparing for something, but they didn't seem entirely confident about it. "Whatever happens," he said to his friends, "we stick together. We're stronger than they think we are." Amy smiled grimly. "Humans always are." The alarm that woke Jake from his restless sleep was different from the usual ship alerts. This one had an edge of panic to it, and he could hear Vorthak voices shouting in their harsh language throughout the corridors. "What's happening?" Lisa asked, pressing her ear to the cell door. Alex moved to the small viewport in their cell wall. Through the thick metal bars, he could see stars wheeling past as the Dominator's fang changed course rapidly. "We're moving fast," he said. "Really fast. Like we're running from something." The ship shuddered as its engines pushed it beyond normal operating limits. Jake had felt similar vibrations during emergency maneuvers on the Kethmaran, but never this intense. Whatever was happening, the Vorthak were genuinely frightened. Heavy footsteps echoed in the corridor, and Commander Thraktos appeared at their cell door with 4 armed guards. His usual arrogant expression had been replaced by something that looked almost like worry. "Primitives," he growled. "Your species. What do you know of human military vessels?" Jake exchanged glances with his friends. This was an unexpected question. "We're civilians," he said carefully. "We worked on merchant ships. Why?" Thraktos studied Jake's face, looking for signs of deception. "Long-range sensors detect human ship approaching. Small vessel, unknown configuration. Commander Grixcon wishes to know if humans possess military technology." Jake kept his expression neutral, but his heart was racing. A human military ship? Out here in deep space? "Humans don't have much of a military," he lied. "Mostly just patrol boats and system defense platforms." The Vorthak commander seemed satisfied with this answer. "Good. Then this vessel poses no threat." He turned to leave, then looked back. "But if you lie to me, primitive, you will die slowly." After the guards left, the 5 humans huddled together in the corner of their cell. "A human military ship," Amy whispered. "How is that possible?" "The human defense forces have ships everywhere," Jake said quietly. "They just don't advertise it. Remember what they told us during civilian training? Humanity protects its citizens no matter where they are." Pete looked skeptical. "Even if that's true, what can one ship do against a full Vorthak battle fleet?" Before Jake could answer, the ship's intercom crackled to life. Overlord Grixcon's voice echoed through the vessel, speaking in galactic standard so that all the alien prisoners could understand. "Attention, crew of the unknown vessel. You have entered Imperial space and are approaching a military ship of the Vorthak Empire. Identify yourself and state your purpose." The response came through clearly, and Jake felt a chill run down his spine. The voice was calm, professional, and unmistakably human. "Vorthak vessel, this is Captain Ryan Blake of the UES Retribution. We have detected human life signs aboard your ship. You will prepare to be boarded for inspection." Jake had never heard of the UES Retribution, but the prefix told him everything he needed to know. UES stood for United Earth Ship. This was a vessel from the Human Defense Forces. Grixcon's laughter boomed through the ship. "Human captain, you are either very brave or very stupid. This is the battlecruiser Dominator's Fang, flagship of the 47th Raiding Fleet. We carry 200 warriors and weapons that could destroy your pathetic vessel in seconds." Captain Blake's response was ice cold. "The humans aboard your ship are citizens of Earth and under the protection of the United Earth Defense Forces. You will release them immediately and surrender your vessel for inspection. This is your only warning." "Warning?" Grixcon sounded incredulous. "Little human, I have conquered 17 star systems. I have destroyed fleets 10 times the size of your single ship. You dare threaten me?" 30 seconds, Blake replied calmly. "Release the prisoners and surrender or face the consequences." Jake pressed his face against the cell door, trying to see what was happening on the ship's main view screen. Through the corridor, he could glimpse the bridge displays showing the approaching human vessel. The ship was smaller than the Dominator's Fang, sleek and angular where the Vorthak vessel was bulky and intimidating. But something about its design made Jake's engineer instincts scream warnings. The hull configuration, the energy signatures visible on the sensors. This wasn't just a patrol boat or system defense ship. "All weapons, target the human vessel," Grixcon commanded. "Show these primitives the price of defying the Empire." The Dominator's Fang's massive energy cannons swiveled toward the Retribution and fired. Jake watched the tactical display as brilliant beams of destructive energy lanced across space toward the human ship. The beams struck the Retribution's shields and simply vanished. The human vessel didn't even slow down. Impossible, Commander Thraktos breathed from the bridge. Our weapons should have destroyed any ship that size. Fire again, Grixcon roared. All weapons continuous barrage? For 30 seconds, the Vorthak battlecruiser poured every weapon it had into the approaching human ship. Energy cannons, plasma torpedoes, kinetic projectiles, everything the Empire's best military engineers had designed to destroy enemy vessels. Nothing touched the Retribution. Then the human ship returned. Fire. Jake had studied weapons technology during his engineering training, but he had never seen anything like what the Retribution unleashed. Streams of coherent energy that burned brighter than stars carved through the Dominator's Fang's shields like they weren't even there. Railgun projectiles moving at a significant fraction of light speed punched through armor plating that had been designed to withstand anything in the known galaxy. The ship shook violently as the human weapons tore into its hull. Emergency lighting flickered on as main power failed. Jake could hear the sound of secondary explosions throughout the vessel as systems overloaded and failed. In less than 3 minutes, the pride of the Vorthak 47th Raiding Fleet was a crippled hulk drifting in space. This is Captain Blake. The human voice came through the emergency communication system. Vorthak vessel, your weapons are offline and your engines are destroyed. Prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will be met with lethal force. Jake looked at his friends and saw his own amazement reflected in their faces. A single human warship had just destroyed one of the most powerful military vessels in the galaxy, without taking any damage at all. I thought you said humans didn't have much of a military, Amy whispered. I was wrong, Jake replied. Very, very wrong. Through the ship's hull, they could hear the sound of cutting tools as the human boarding parties prepared to enter the Dominator's Fang. Jake pressed against the cell door, straining to hear what was happening in the corridors. The first sound was the distinctive whine of human military breach charges. Then came the thunder of boots on deck plating, but not the heavy, clumsy footsteps of Vorthak warriors. These were the precise, coordinated movements of professional soldiers. Vorthak voices screamed challenges and battle cries. Human voices responded with clipped professional orders. Then came the sound of weapons fire, but not the energy blast Jake was familiar with. These were the sharp cracks of human kinetic weapons designed to punch through any armor. The battle was shockingly brief. Within minutes, the sounds of combat faded, replaced by the methodical sweep of human forces securing the ship. United States Marines, a voice called out in English. Any human personnel, identify yourselves. Here! Jake shouted, banging on the cell door. 5 civilians in detention, cell 7. Footsteps approached rapidly, and Jake saw his first glimpse of a human Defense Forces Marine. The soldier wore advanced combat armor that made him look like something from a science fiction movie. His weapon was a sleek rifle that hummed with barely contained energy. Stand back from the door, the Marine ordered. He placed a small device against the lock and it opened instantly. Jake and his friends stumbled out of the cell, blinking in the corridor lights. The Marine's helmet retracted, revealing a young man with kind eyes and a professional demeanor. Sergeant Mike Collins, 1st Marine Expeditionary Unit, he said. Are any of you injured? Nothing serious, Lisa replied. But there are other prisoners from different species who need medical attention. We'll take care of them, Collins assured her. Captain Blake wants to see you as soon as possible. Welcome back to human protection, citizens. As they followed the sergeant through the corridors, Jake saw the aftermath of the boarding action. Vorthak warriors lay unconscious or dead, their advanced armor and weapons useless against human military technology. For the first time in weeks, Jake felt truly safe. Humanity had come for them, and nothing in the galaxy was going to stop them from going home. The first thing Jake noticed about the UES Retribution was how clean everything looked. After weeks aboard the Vorthak ship with its harsh lighting and brutal architecture, the human warship felt like stepping into a different world. The corridors were well lit with soft white light, and the air smelled fresh and clean. Sergeant Collins led them through the ship toward the captain's quarters, and Jake couldn't help but stare at everything they passed. The technology was incredible. Displays that responded to touch and voice commands, automated systems that anticipated the crew's needs, and an overall design that combined efficiency with actual comfort. How many crew does this ship carry? Alex asked as they walked. Classified, Collins replied with a small smile. but I can tell you we're one of the smaller vessels in the fleet. Jake exchanged glances with his friends. If this was considered small, what did the larger ships look like? They passed several crew members in the corridors, and Jake was struck by their professionalism. These weren't the brutal raiders he had grown accustomed to seeing. Every person they met moved with purpose and confidence, but also showed genuine concern for the rescued civilians. "How did you find us?" Amy asked. "The Defense Forces track all human citizens working in alien space," Collins explained. "When your ship went missing, we started looking. It took a while to trace you to the Vorthak, but we never gave up." They reached the captain's quarters, and Collins knocked on the door. "Captain Blake, the rescued civilians are here?" "Send them in, Sergeant." Captain Ryan Blake was not what Jake had expected from a military commander. He was perhaps 40 years old, with graying hair and tired eyes that seemed to carry the weight of many difficult decisions. When he stood to greet them, his handshake was firm but gentle. "Please sit down," Blake said, gesturing to chairs around a conference table. "I know you've been through hell, and I want you to know that you're safe now. No one is going to hurt you again." Lisa spoke for all of them. "Captain, we can't thank you enough. We thought we were going to die on that ship." Blake's expression darkened. "The Vorthak have been getting bolder lately. This isn't the first time they've captured human civilians, but it's going to be the last time they get away with it." "How did you destroy their ship so easily?" Jake asked. As an engineer, he had to know. "Their weapons should have been able to damage you, but your shields didn't even flicker." Blake studied Jake for a moment. "You're the engineer, right?" "Jake Martinez?" Jake nodded, surprised that the captain knew his name. "We have files on all human civilians working in alien space," Blake explained. "Your work on the Kethmaran was impressive. Improved their engine efficiency by 15% using techniques they'd never seen before. You've been watching us?" "We watch all our citizens," Blake said simply. "It's our job to protect you even when you don't know we're there." He pressed a control on his table, and a holographic display appeared showing a star map of the local sector. Jake could see dozens of icons marking ship positions, trade routes, and strategic locations. "The Human Defense Forces have been operating in this region for 20 years, Blake continued. "We've been quietly protecting human interests, gathering intelligence, and preparing for the day when we might need to reveal ourselves." Pete leaned forward. "But most aliens think humans are weak. They don't respect us at all." Blake smiled grimly. "That's exactly what we want them to think. While the galaxy sees human civilians as harmless traders and engineers, our military forces have been developing technologies and tactics that none of them can imagine." "Like your weapons," Jake said. "I've never seen energy beams that powerful. And those railguns were moving projectiles at incredible velocities. Human military technology has advanced significantly beyond what most alien species possess," Blake confirmed. "We've taken their innovations and improved upon them, added our own discoveries, and created weapon systems that are generations ahead of anything currently deployed in this part of the galaxy." Amy looked troubled. "But why hide it? If humans are that advanced, why not take our rightful place among the major galactic powers?" Blake's expression became serious. "Because the galaxy isn't ready for that revelation yet. There are species out there that would see advanced humans as a threat to be eliminated. Better to let them underestimate us while we prepare for whatever challenges lie ahead." A young officer entered the room and saluted. "Captain, we've finished processing the Vorthak vessel. 87 prisoners from various species have been freed and are receiving medical attention. The Vorthak crew has been secured in our detention facilities." "Good work, Lieutenant," Blake replied. "Any word from command about our next orders?" "Admiral Carter sends her compliments on a successful rescue operation. The Third Fleet is moving to intercept the main Vorthak battle group that's been raiding civilian shipping in Sector 7. Jake felt a chill. "A whole fleet? How many ships are you facing?" "Intelligence suggests approximately 40 vessels," Blake said calmly. "It should be an interesting engagement." Lisa looked shocked. 40 ships against how many human vessels?" "That's classified," Blake replied. "But I can tell you that Admiral Carter has never lost a battle." The next few hours passed in a blur of medical examinations, debriefings, and paperwork. The ship's doctor, Commander Sarah Williams, gave all 5 rescued humans complete physical examinations and pronounced them in good health despite their ordeal. "You're lucky," Dr. Williams told them. "The Vorthak don't usually treat their prisoners this well. You must have impressed someone." Jake thought about Lisa's medical skills and his own work on their ship's systems. Maybe their usefulness had kept them alive longer than most prisoners. That evening, they were given quarters on the ship and invited to eat in the crew mess hall. The food was better than anything Jake had tasted in weeks. Real human cuisine prepared by skilled cooks. As they ate, crew members stopped by their table to welcome them aboard and ask about their experiences. Jake was struck by the professionalism and genuine caring these people showed. They weren't just soldiers, they were protectors, people who had dedicated their lives to keeping other humans safe. "So what happens now?" Alex asked Sergeant Collins, who had joined them for dinner. "You'll be transported to the nearest safe human colony," Collins replied. "From there, you can choose to return to Earth or continue your civilian careers in alien space. The choice is yours." "What about the people who betrayed us?" Pete asked quietly. "Captain Vexthera sold us to the Vorthak like we were cargo." Collins's expression hardened. "That information has been passed along to the appropriate authorities. The defense forces have a long memory, and we don't forget when someone hurts our citizens." After dinner, Jake stood at one of the ship's observation windows, looking out at the stars. The view was the same as it had been from the Vorthak ship, but somehow it looked different now. He felt safe, protected by people who shared his heritage and values. Lisa joined him at the window. "Hard to believe, isn't it? All this time we thought we were on our own out here." "Makes you wonder what else humanity has been hiding," Jake replied. "If we have warships like this patrolling space, what do our home defense systems look like? What about our research stations and industrial facilities?" Alex appeared beside them. "Maybe that's the real lesson here. The galaxy thinks it knows what humanity is capable of, but it's only seen the surface." Jake nodded thoughtfully. For years he had worked alongside aliens who saw humans as inferior, primitive beings barely worth their attention. Now he understood that this perception was not accidental. It was a carefully maintained illusion that hid humanity's true strength. "The question is," Amy said, joining their group at the window, "how long can we keep this secret?" "After what happened today, word is going to spread," Jake smiled. "Maybe it's time for the galaxy to learn what humans are really capable of when you threaten our people." Outside the window, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter, and Jake felt proud to be human in a way he never had before. They were not the weak, insignificant species the galaxy believed them to be. They were something far more dangerous. They were humans who protected their own, no matter what the cost. 6 months after his rescue, Jake Martinez stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution wearing the uniform of the Human Defense Forces. The silver bars on his collar marked him as a lieutenant in the engineering corps, and the ship that had once seemed impossibly advanced now felt like home. "Lieutenant Martinez, report on the quantum drive modifications," Captain Blake said from his command chair. Jake consulted his tablet and smiled. "Efficiency is up 12%, Captain. The new plasma flow regulators are working better than projected." "Outstanding work," Blake replied. "Engineering innovation like that is why the Admiralty fast-tracked your commission." It had been an easy choice for Jake and his friends. After seeing what humanity was truly capable of, they had all requested to join the defense forces. Lisa was now a lieutenant commander serving as the ship's head medical officer. Alex had become the communications division chief. Pete and Amy had both found positions that used their skills and experience, but the galaxy had changed dramatically in those 6 months. Word of the retributions. Easy victory over the Dominator's fang had spread through the underworld faster than anyone had expected. Within weeks, every pirate, raider, and criminal organization knew that humans possessed military technology far beyond what anyone had imagined. The Vorthak Empire's response had been predictable and disastrous. "Sir, incoming message from Admiral Carter," Alex reported from his communication station. Blake nodded. "Put it through, Lieutenant." Admiral Janet Carter appeared on the main view screen, her expression grim but satisfied. Behind her, Jake could see the bridge of her flagship, the massive battlecruiser UES Vengeance. "Captain Blake, I have news about the Vorthak situation. As of 0800 hours this morning, the last Vorthak battle fleet surrendered to our forces. The Empire has officially requested terms for a complete ceasefire." Jake felt a surge of satisfaction. The Vorthak had made the mistake of sending their entire remaining fleet to attack human positions, confident that their superior numbers would overwhelm the defense forces. Instead, they had discovered that human weapons technology was not the only advantage humanity possessed. Human tactics, Training and strategic thinking had proven to be generations ahead of anything the Vorthak understood. In battle after battle, smaller human forces had destroyed larger alien fleets through superior coordination, better intelligence, and weapons that could strike from distances the enemy couldn't even comprehend. "What about the other powers, Admiral?" Blake asked. Carter smiled. "The Zilani Consortium has formally requested a diplomatic meeting to discuss mutual cooperation opportunities. The Corvan Republic wants to establish trade agreements. Even the Stellar Federation is suddenly very interested in improving relations with humanity." Jake wasn't surprised. Once the galaxy had seen what happened to those who threatened human citizens, every major government had started reassessing their relationship with the species they had dismissed as primitive and insignificant. "Any word on Captain Vexthera?" Jake asked. "The former captain of the Kethmaran is currently in protective custody on her homeworld," Carter replied. "The Zilani government is very eager to demonstrate their commitment to human-Zilani friendship. I suspect her career in space is over." After Admiral Carter signed off, Jake returned to his engineering duties. The ship was currently patrolling the same region where he had once been a prisoner. But now the Retribution was part of a fleet of human vessels that ensured safe passage for all civilian traffic. The change in alien behavior had been remarkable. Ships that once might have ignored human distress calls now went out of their way to assist human vessels. Ports that had barely tolerated human traders now competed to offer the best docking facilities and services. Fear, Jake had learned, was an excellent motivator for respect. "Lieutenant Martinez to the observation deck." Lisa's voice came through the comm system. Jake made his way to the ship's primary observation lounge, where he found all four of his friends waiting for him. Through the massive windows, they could see a familiar sight, the trading station where they had first met after their rescue. "Hard to believe it's been 6 months," Amy said, her new uniform bearing the insignia of a Defense Forces navigator. "Sometimes it feels like a lifetime," Pete agreed. He had joined the ship's maintenance division and discovered a talent for advanced systems repair. Alex gestured toward the station. "Look at that." Jake followed his gaze and saw something that would have been unimaginable during their civilian days. 3 alien freighters were docked at the station, and all of them were flying human protection flags, a new symbol that indicated they carried human passengers or cargo and were under the protection of the defense forces. Captain Vexithara could never have imagined this when she traded us to the Vorthak, Lisa said quietly. "She thought she was getting rid of worthless primitives," Jake replied. "Instead, she triggered a revelation that changed the balance of power in this entire sector." A young ensign approached their group and saluted. "Lieutenant Martinez, Captain Blake requests your presence on the bridge. We're receiving a priority message from Earth." Jake made his way back to the bridge, curious about what Earth Command might want. When he arrived, he found Captain Blake standing before the main view screen with an expression Jake had never seen before, a mixture of pride and anticipation. "Jake, you're going to want to hear this," Blake said. The view screen activated, showing the seal of the United Earth Defense Forces. Then the image shifted to show Fleet Admiral Harrison Chen, the supreme commander of all human military forces. "To all Defense Forces personnel currently serving in the Outer Rim sectors," Admiral Chen began, "I am pleased to announce that the Earth Senate has voted to end the Concealment Protocol. After 30 years of hidden operations, humanity is ready to take its place as a major power in galactic affairs." Jake felt his heart racing. The Concealment Protocol was the policy that had kept human military capabilities secret for decades. Effective immediately, Chen continued, all Defense Forces units are authorized to operate under full disclosure. The galaxy is about to learn what humanity is truly capable of, and I have complete confidence in your ability to represent our species with honor and strength. The message ended, and the bridge fell silent for a moment. Then Captain Blake smiled. "Well, people, it looks like the secret is officially over. Alex, open a channel to all human vessels in the sector." "Channel open, sir." Blake keyed his communicator. "Attention all Defense Forces vessels. This is Captain Blake of the U.S. Retribution. By order of Fleet Command, we are now operating under full disclosure protocols. Let the galaxy know that humanity is here. We're strong, and we protect our own." Over the next few hours, Jake watched as the revelation spread throughout the sector. Human ships began broadcasting their true capabilities and mission parameters. Defense Forces bases that had been hidden for decades suddenly appeared on galactic star charts. Research stations revealed technological advances that left alien scientists stunned. The response was immediate and dramatic. Governments that had ignored humanity for centuries suddenly found themselves sending urgent diplomatic messages. Species that had dismissed humans as primitive began studying every aspect of human culture and technology. Jake stood at his engineering station, monitoring the ship's systems as they prepared to depart for Earth. He was going home for the first time in years, but now he was returning as a representative of a species that had finally revealed its true nature to the galaxy. "You know what the best part is?" Lisa said, joining him at his station. "What's that?" "Captain Vexithara spent years thinking she was superior to us because we were human. Now she gets to live in a galaxy where humanity is recognized as one of the most advanced and powerful species ever encountered." Jake smiled as he watched the stars wheel past the ship's viewports. The galaxy had thought it knew what humans were capable of. It had been wrong about everything: their technology, their military might, their determination to protect their people, and their willingness to change the balance of power when necessary. But most importantly, it had been wrong about what happened when you made the mistake of threatening a human's family. The universe was about to learn that lesson on a scale it had never imagined, and Jake Martinez was proud to be part of the species that would teach it.